Hey, and thanks for watching another video from weldingtipsandtricks.com. Today is part 3 of a 3-part series on fabricating some carts using the StrongHand Build Pro precision welding table. I'm going to do a little summary for you here of parts 1 and 2, and this is part 1 where we put together the end panels with the 3/8 rods, retaining rods, to keep parts from falling out the ends of the PVC tubes. And you can see the setup there is very simple. Just a bunch of stops and squaring everything up with some spring-loaded stops, and rolled through these things with nothing flat. And once they were done, it's time to frame it all up with the uprights and some a little taller 90-degree angle stops. Not a problem either. Got everything. Once I spent about 30 minutes on the setup, things went really smoothly, and I could roll through them again. And I figured out a way also to weld them on the table and then move them a little bit and position them in such a way that I could get to all the welds and very, very easily and very efficiently. Some of the welds are downhill, some of them are horizontal, but I could position them pretty well to get to everything and get kind of a system going where I could make some real good progress. See here, I'm using the stops and I tilted it down to finish those MIG welds. Now the handle assemblies are stainless steel. Stainless steel brackets, stainless steel tubing. Very simple setup here. It took about 5 minutes to set it up. I set it up with a little bit of an offset where I could just not use any filler metal when I weld it, and just kind of fuse the corner over in and use it for filler metal, just like this, with a little circular motion with a TIG torch. And it's mainly a cosmetic weld on these handles anyway, not a lot of any stress or anything on them once they're in place. But wanted it to look nice and also hold, so there's the final weld on that, and that went really well too. The setup was really easy, and I used a TIG torch to tack them on as well, and then MIG welded them up, and then here I am. Pads, casters on, everything's ready for the PVC tubes to be stacked in, all painted, and then the final operation is just to fabricate the lids and then drop them in place, and no more painting after that. So that's where we're at today. Took only about 5 minutes to set that up. Now a little wrinkle here. I had to manually cut the miters on these stainless steel angle irons because the horizontal saw tore up. So there's always something come up, wrinkle in the work. So this is a Milwaukee paddle switch type grinder. It's a good grinder. It's strong. It's smooth. This is a Chicago Electric. Doesn't have even a spring-loaded switch. So I knew that was kind of dangerous. I just got this as a temporary to tide me over while my DeWalt angle grinder was being borrowed by a friend. I thought it would be okay. Not okay. Switch was on. I plugged it in. It ran off the table. The cutting wheel exploded, hit me in the neck. I had the face shield down, but that wasn't protecting my neck. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you, I'm going to stick with paddle switch, spring-loaded paddle switch type grinders from now on. That was kind of a wake-up call for me. That could have been a lot worse. But I'm going to show you here. You see how quickly I can go from side to side, clamping. I got a little grinding, cutting, clamping station here. Nothing flat with the table because I've got clamps and I've got holes at all 4 corners. I can set up a station off and do anything I want. Same thing with this little 1/4 inch. There's some little tabs left on here by the water jet. I needed to grind them all off. Well, there's 20 of them, and putting one at a time in a vise. If it even takes a minute extra at 20 of them, I've wasted 20 minutes. So just having a place to clamp stuff at any corner or any edge of the table, I found to be pretty valuable. So that all done, that all said, we're going to fabricate and frame the stainless steel angle iron things here. It took only about 5 to 10 minutes to set this little setup up. You get the first angle is a gimme because the holes are all drilled at 90-degree angles, and then you work a little bit and kind of knock things around a little bit and get everything squared, and then it's a one-time thing, and then from there on out everything just loads in square. Now I'm using a little switch on the TIG torch today, and for tack welding I found that to be just really nice. I don't have to drag a pedal all the way around the table, and I can set the amperage at something that's adequate for tack welding, press the button, and big time saver. And I wound up just using that, as a matter of fact, in about 70 amps to weld this whole thing out. Once I got them tacked up, I'm using a big piece of copper block for backup on this outside corner joint to trap a little argon on the backside. I've got a little gap on this particular joint, And so I'm just leaving the rod in the puddle and just kind of pushing a little, keeping a little tension on the rod to keep it filled in there. These welds are going to be buffed and polished off, but I do need to have them strong and penetrated pretty well. I'm just not worried about them being perfect. So again, the torch switch in lieu of a foot pedal worked out really good for this. I generally prefer a foot pedal. I'm a foot pedal guy. Generally, I want as much control over the amperage as I can get, but you just don't always need it. Sometimes it's a better trade-off to be able to move and have the freedom of moving the torch around without dragging any foot pedal with you. So there's the other weld, and then it was all done and time to drop the sheet metal hot rolled steel in place. And then the clamping, I use the same setup, but then now the clamps move to the outside to clamp the sheet down good and tight. And I'm just going to get a whole bunch of tack welds around this thing because the only purpose of this sheet is to hold some rubber padding, just to have a place to set things. Doesn't really have any real structural purpose. Kind of ties everything together. The stainless steel was spec'd out strictly for cosmetic trim, the looks of it, because everything was going to be painted, and this is not even going to be painted after the fact. So there's no concern here over corrosion resistance or maintaining corrosion properties and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not worried about it too much in tack welding this piece of hot rolled steel to the stainless. And you can kind of get an idea how quickly that goes. I got a hole everywhere I want one. I can move the clamps at will, clamp wherever I want, whenever I want, and that's what I did. So, knocking them out. So that's where we are. We've got all the lids fabricated, and the dimension is the thing. We don't want to beat them on. We don't want them loose. So I want them, fairly snug fit to tie everything together. I want to put the StrongHand ground clamp here on the table with the solid copper jaw on it. Get a good ground while I MIG weld the lids on from up underneath. I'm just going to get a little weld. I don't want to blister anything up because everything's all painted. We left about a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch unpainted up there on the very end where we could weld to. And then we're going to weld them and then call it good. Having a good ground is extremely important on MIG welding. The very last thing, I'm going to be moving this table around going forward a lot. So I want to be able to move it and level it up once it's moved without having to use the forklift every time. So I got these leveling casters from StrongHand that you can level with just with a foot, and man, are they handy. Look like I've got little Mickey Mouse shoes on it now. So that's my table all broken down. I cannot say enough about my StrongHand Build Pro table. It's a time saver, it's a productivity booster, and it just makes things fun. Well, thanks for watching weldingtipsandtricks.com.